I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Sorry for the delay, but also I think the link was planned for 11 p.m. For some reasons it was.
Yeah, actually in the morning I shared, updated the link, and I thought they shared it to you as Nadina was in. Yeah, that's why I thought you got the link. So far, thank you for your time.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, should we start now?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mrs Ariella Kageruka. It is an honor to have you for this interview. Like I mentioned in the emails with your team, the topic for this article I'm writing, it's sustainable development in Rwanda and how Rwanda is looking at climate change resilience. So, but before we start, I would like to hear from you. Can you tell me more about yourself? The reason is, let's say 7 years ago, your team have been doing a very good, incredible job, and you have been done a lot of things. So given it to the success in the lives of in the tourism in Rwanda, so it would be great to hear more about you, about your approach to work, and how you have put Rwanda on the map as a tourist destination. Thank you.
Thank you, Celestin. Please allow me to also thank you for this opportunity to have this conversation with you. Like you rightly said, my name is Ariella Kageruka. I'm the acting Chief Tourism Officer at the Rwanda Development Board, which is the government organization that is in charge of conservation. So we champion conservation efforts through sustainable tourism. Myself, I joined RDB in 2019 in April. I was from the Rwanda Tourism Chamber, where I led the tourism chamber for 1 year, but prior to that had served over 8 years the Rwanda national airline, the Rwanda. About Rwanda, Rwanda is a diverse destination for visitors and known for its sustainable, eco-friendly and responsible tourism. The country is home to the Big Five in the Akagera National Park. It's also home to lush tropical rainforest, ancient volcanoes, and of course the magnificent mountain gorillas, among many other great apes species that we have.
Okay, sounds good. I understand the recent, this is, we are talking about national parks and the climate change. I understand the recent, some communities around Volcanoes National Park in districts of Burera, Nyabihu, Musanze and Rubavu had been relocated with the purpose of expanding the park. What is the main purpose of relocating these communities?
Celestin, please allow me to just make a very slight correction. There's been no relocation yet, but we have a strategy and a program to expand the Volcanoes National Park, like you rightly said. And so far, we've acquired 27 hectares of land, which is a small portion of, what our target is, which is 3,740 hectares of land that will be added to the Volcanoes National Park. But just to also touch on the purpose and the strategy and the thinking behind this program, you probably know that mountain gorilla conservation is a global conservation success story, with its population increasing by 26% within the whole of Virunga Massif. So the population increased from 480 individual gorillas in 2010 to 604 gorillas in 2016. So the primary goal of this program is to address an ecological challenge due to the small size of this biodiverse park, which has insufficient and suitable space, which is supposed to be interconnected for mountain gorillas and other wildlife species. This is a critical long-term issue that the park expansion program is intended to address. The expansion process is really something that has been guided by several assessments and strategies that were conducted prior to government taking this as a strategic program. Just to mention a few, we've conducted a preliminary ecological impact assessment study in 2018, which indicated that overall the proposed park expansion area and adjacent land user buffer zone is strongly and ambiguously positive from an ecological perspective. Another preliminary socioeconomic impact assessment study conducted in the same year indicated that the project could bring significant development benefits, including economic growth and also poverty alleviation to communities around the Volcanoes National Park. As you know, conservation in Rwanda puts as priority the communities. And I think we'll touch on that later to show you how we've been working with local communities adjacent to the different national parks beyond the Volcanoes National Park as co-investors and stewards of champions and guardians of the different species and also the biodiversity of these ecologically important areas. So to date, as I just said, no communities have been relocated, and when the time comes, RDB will apply a resettlement policy framework to ensure that the free, prior and informed consent principles and national requirements for land acquisition and resettlement are adequately addressed. So lastly, we've recently initiated a plan to conservation development, which is essentially a master plan, which will combine policy, investment, and business engagement opportunities to transform the economy in the landscape and secure sustainable livelihoods for over 13,000 people living in the area to be expanded. So with the collaboration of conservation partners, a pilot project is under development to serve as a proof of concept of the program. As you can understand, you cannot immediately full blast, expand 3,000 to 3,700 before you even conduct, I've just explained to you the process through which we went through to understand why this was an important issue and how it's going to be resolved.
Okay. To interrupt you, sorry, Ms. Ariella, to interrupt you. Do you have maps for expansion of national parks?
We will share that with you. I cannot share that with you.
Okay.
But we can share that with you, showing exactly the area actually that is going to be used as a proof of concept of the program. So this program that I've just said, the proof of concept, will help determine if any adjustment to the implementation plan that has been already identified, or if any adaptations to the program are necessary. So it includes a park expansion the park expansion itself that will result in the acquisition of 450 hectares of land, a green village to host the relocated 560 households and ensure livelihood improvement that we see 22 hectares of land allocated to smart agriculture production and other income generating activities for the community. This will include even activities to do with tourism and conservation for communities themselves. So this park expansion will not only see addressing an ecological important issue, but also continue to improve the livelihoods of the communities. I hope that answers your question, Celestin.
Okay. Yeah, they also answer all questions. Talking about expansion of the park, you mentioned a little bit about sustainable tourism. How is sustainable tourism development factored into the National Park Expansion Plan. Can you explain more about the tourism development strategies? You mentioned a few. Can you add more?
So maybe just to recap, go back a bit. Currently, sustainable tourism is the approach to tourism that we have in Rwanda generally, and this includes Volcanoes National Park. As a country, we've chosen the high-end tourism in order to limit the impact on the environment. And this includes strategies to increase even the gorilla permit fee to 1,500, which was a strategy and a move to ensure that there is low impact on the environment while generating enough revenue that are reinvested back within the landscape itself and also supporting local communities. That's just as an example, but also because of this strategy of sustainable tourism, and also because of the very conducive doing business environment that we have in Rwanda, we've been able to attract renowned brands in ecotourism. You've heard of high-end lodges in the areas that are close to national parks. These have been attracted by our strategy. They've been generating jobs for Rwandans. They've generated revenues for the economy and also supported local communities and also the landscape itself within which they operate.
All right. Talking about that new question comes when we talk about the increase of gorilla visit permit. There have been rumors, like I say, rumors, people say about there is in a region, there is a Congo gorilla, there is a Uganda gorilla. So then Rwanda is increasing the price of permits. So how people have been commenting that price, how are the increase of the buyers, the clients of buying the permits? Are you so far having more people buying the permits? Is the number decreased? So how far the new change of the new pricing is working to your department?
Perhaps we can also take into context the current situation that we're in of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected tourism globally, and Rwanda was not isolated to that impact, and therefore currently tourism generally has decreased, including visitors to gorillas within the national park. But prior to that, actually 2019 was the best year in tourism, where we saw the highest increase of revenues since a few years back. And what that means is was mainly due to two reasons. One was the increase of the gorilla permit, because we had an increase of revenues. As you know it, we reached for the first time close to $500 million. And we also were able to get renowned brands that I said in our tourism ecosystem. And this has also contributed largely to the increase of revenues, because the price of the package increased, which means that more revenues were generated from the tourists. So meaning the tourist spend was increased. So it has been a positive move until, of course, COVID came to hit tourism. But we will be built back better when travel restrictions and also when it is safe for everybody to travel. There's been a large rollout of vaccine even in tourism, where the majority of the professionals and workers within the tourism industry have been vaccinated, which provides the confidence that is needed by travelers to understand that Rwanda is not only safe, but also that tourism is a priority sector for the country, which contributes largely to the country's economy. As you know, it's Rwanda's primary foreign currency earner.
Okay. In the business, when you increase prices, you also include something additional to the package you provide to your clients. So the new price of Burera permits, is it have any package to the clients, or just increase the price, nothing additional you provide? For instance, I remember when I visited the Burera, they sometimes you give the certificate, you give a T-shirt, they may provide transportation. Is there any other additional you provide within that new price?
Celestin, I'm actually very surprised you were provided transportation from your permit fee. That must have been perhaps an incentive for you to travel as a domestic tourist, and also for you to explore and appreciate the tourism attractions within the country. And I applaud you for having taken that challenge and having visited the national park. But back to your question, increasing the price goes again with the positioning of Rwanda as a high-end tourism destination. I've just said it that when we increase the price, we attracted renowned investors within the industry. And that means that the offering of Rwanda and positioning of Rwanda also increased further to meet the expectations of the high-end tourists. You must have seen that Rwanda continues to receive high-end tourists even within this pandemic, where even this week alone, we received high-end tourists that were touring Africa and chose Rwanda as the highlight destination as part of their greatest safari package. But this shows you that increasing the package, of course, we've been also working with partners and also the private sector to upskill, to position Rwanda properly in the markets that we serve. So it has been an ecosystem. Even when you look at the process through which our clients or our visitors arrive, it's all a high-end focused approach with services like VIP meet and greet services being offered at the Kigali International Airport so that people can receive personalized services. In addition, the private sector has also positioned properly in proposing bespoke experiences, because when someone has the money to pay 1,500 and also the money to pay accommodation in a high-end lodge, it means the package has to be personalized to meet their needs. So we've been working very closely with the private sector for that offer to be positioned in a way that speaks and responds to the expectations of the clients that we receive.
Okay. You mentioned earlier about what communities around the national park get from the tourism, especially around those parks. Tourism revenue sharing, as shared in the reports from rdb, the tourism revenue, even you mentioned earlier, the tourism revenue sharing program provides support to community around the park through infrastructure built by funds from a 10% revenue share. Why is a 10% the chosen percentage for the amount of revenue to go back into communities? How is the other 90% used, or is being used? Yes.
Thank you, Celestin. First of all, to maybe give you a bit of understanding of where we came from, this portion of 10% was increased from 5% in 2017 since the beginning of this program. The program began in 2005, where we were sharing 5% of park revenues to communities, and later on it was increased to 10% when in 2017 when the gorilla permit fee increased. This is an approach that we took to ensure that communities living around protected areas benefit from conservation. The government took the strategic decision to invest 10% of park revenues to these communities under this scheme of revenue sharing. And these funds are invested in projects identified by the members of the communities themselves. In 2019-2020, we have supported 30 community projects that are being implemented in different sectors, in agriculture, in housing, sanitation, and water supply, where they were funded at a tune of over 600 million Rwandan francs. But since the beginning of this program, we have invested about 6.5 billion Rwandan francs to over 780 projects supporting communities. The rest of the park revenues are invested back in the park. You probably know that the park, running a national park is expensive. You need to maintain the ecosystem within that is producing all these revenues. It's important to provide maintenance fees to these areas, to protect them, to acquire latest technology in law enforcement, to train the staff to respond to the standards that are needed when managing and protecting a national park, and also in veterinary services. As you know, we monitor the health of the wildlife species within the national parks and also outside national parks. And lastly, in the promotion of what we have to offer. Last but not least is developing more products within the national park or within areas adjacent national parks to provide a circuit that responds to the expectations of the clients, but also grows opportunities within our economy by enabling the private sector through these opportunities as well. Okay.
Sounds a very good program. And so what is your vision for this program in the longer term? I'm talking about the 10% which goes back to communities. So what is your vision for this program for longer term?
We are actually in the process of researching and make an analysis or stock taking of the achievements that the program has realized since the beginning in 2005 to understand what are the things that what are the gaps that we need to address going forward. We've been implementing this program for all these years. What is the next challenge for communities? And also taking lessons from COVID-19. So we'll be able to share a comprehensive plan after this research that we're undertaking is over. But we do not see a future without community empowerment in conservation. So this program will be improved to respond to more community problems by continuing to enable wildlife conservation.
Okay. I understand you mentioned about sustainability over this community. So is there any other plan you may add for sustainability over this community beside planning what have already shown in the program and what's the problems need to be addressed? Is there other specific plans that, for example, I've seen the schools built, there is housing that's been built. So for sustainability over these communities, there are other addition you can add?
I would say that we have developed also beyond, by the way, the Volcanoes National Park. You know, there are other national parks within the country, and they all provide opportunities for communities. I would point out the Akagera National Park landscape, where we've just concluded a master plan to develop the surroundings of this national park. And this provides with opportunities for communities to be able to also directly benefit from conservation beyond this program, including creating community conservancies as an example, being able to get higher, diversify income generating activities by taking advantage of opportunities within the wildlife conservation sector and the wildlife economy. So these are some of the opportunities, and we'll be creating awareness about these opportunities to the communities with the support and the collaboration of local authorities, so that these benefits start directly with communities first.
How do communities influence decisions for these projects? In other words, how are decisions made for the project?
The projects are designed and tailored by communities themselves. So they are the champions and promoters of these projects in a nutshell. So they do not only benefit from the projects, but they design the projects themselves.
Can you be specific? For instance, the recently like event happened of you built a house, you built some housing, and so who came up with the idea of building those houses? Are the communities who brought the idea to build the house, or is the RDB to bring the idea of this house?
No, communities themselves have the need for housing, and they've expressed it. And once they express it, we actually work with local authorities to understand how those families are structured, so that we can design together the projects. I invite you to come to this year's Kritizina, which will be held virtually on 24th November, to follow one of the projects that will be highlighted, how it has benefited the communities, and you'll hear testimonies from themselves, from the communities themselves.
Okay, I have seen some. I have a partner who have a tourism company in Musanze. I have seen some, and thank you. I'm very happy to come and see more for Kritizina. So, how is climate change resilience addressed within the revenue sharing community? And or how does climate change impact decisions made for this project? For instance, before you reply that question, there is an issue had been discussed recently about water coming from the park. So maybe you can also talk about that, but maybe you can go through that that question. Yeah.
So I would say that is a general approach to environment, climate resilience strategy for the country. And as such, a green growth and climate resilience strategy was adopted by Rwanda in 2011. It sets out the country's actions and priorities on climate change, which relates to both mitigation of such issues that you've just mentioned, but also adaptation on how these will be mainstreamed within even economic planning. And the strategy aims to make Rwanda a developed climate resilience and low carbon economy by 2050. You have probably heard that Rwanda has been making efforts to manage existing forests and also to reforest areas of the country that have led to a coverage of over 30% of the country being covered with forest. This plays an important role in mitigating Rwanda's effect on Rwanda's mitigating effects of climate change, or reversing the effects of climate change. So reforestation has been a major approach to reversing the effect of climate change. And I would also speak about other measures like where we have provided infrastructure that manage such issues that you mentioned. But this is a global approach to government management of climate change induced challenges. Celestin, I need to alert you that I have another meeting in the next 5 minutes. If you can hurry a bit.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I will try to jump and take the last which climate change and developments in Rwanda. I think you have read more about this. The United Nations environment programs met that cost associated with the climate change adoption across Africa could hit $50 billion USD annually by 2050. Even though the global temperature does not rise more than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level. In this case, I want you to, as the pandemic continues to impact tourism and therefore related business, so what is RDB's role in GOR is the recovery strategy from the pandemic? And what is the plan for making up for lost tourism, bring back tourism, diversifying away from tourism? Maybe you can, yeah, yes, thank you.
I just talked about the government approach to, growing a green growth economy and also having a climate resilience strategy, which was adopted in 2011, and also increasing of forest coverage to over 30% of total land area of the country. But what this means for tourism as well is that even, there are natural forests that are protected, there are areas that are reforested, there are marshlands that are protected and which continue to provide opportunities for ecotourism, bringing new offers in tourism, in our ecotourism offering. For instance, taking the example of Rugezi marshland, which at some point was suffering from human activities, and with its protection and the communities also understanding the need for that, it's a place that has become a refuge of species like grain-crowned cranes that are thriving with thriving populations there, and also attracting tourism. Another example I can give you is the new tourism sanctuary, grain-crowned sanctuary in Kigali called the Musambi Village. That is a new product for Kigali people and also for visitors to see and appreciate how conservation is important, but also how we can continue to support conservation through ecotourism. So those are initiatives, very specific examples I can give you that have directly that have been taken to reverse climate change issues, but that have directly contributed to growing tourism. Going to the impact of the pandemic and how it impacted tourism, I've covered it a bit earlier. Global tourism and travel really was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but Rwanda was very quick to respond to this COVID-19 pandemic by implementing stringent prevention measures and actively testing, tracing, and treating all cases. With the goal of reestablishing traveler confidence, Rwanda reopened for tourism activities in June, and the airport was opened for commercial flights in August 2020. So that shows you how Rwanda has been working quickly to address the health issue, but while keeping the economic sectors running, including tourism, which has been open for over a year now.
Okay.
And with all the measures that we took, the country was among the first tourist destinations that were recognized by the world's ever faster global safety and hygiene stamp, launched by the World Travel and Tourism Council last year. It was called the WTTC safety stamp. So together with the private sector, we've also been working on very specific measures and guidelines to ensure that not only we keep the health of the customers safe, but also the health of those that are working in the industry safe. Other than that, of course, the government has taken also measures to support economically and financially the private sector by introducing the Economic Recovery Fund, which saw 50% of the initial fund going to refinance hotel loans to support them to recover or to run smoothly as we were reopening. Lastly, the same fund was also supporting tourism operators to support their capital, the capital flow or cash flow, so that they can be able to pay staff, pay supplies, and be able to reopen.
Okay, the last question, which I'm very excited to ask, because I'm a fan of, I've been seeing the Visit Rwanda program, the promotion. It's a very, everywhere you go around the world, everyone asks, how is Rwanda, how is Visit Rwanda? So how has promotion of the Visit Rwanda been impacted by pandemic? What was the success level prior to the pandemic, and what has the impact been? At what level has the Arsenal Football Club advertising been impacted by the pandemic? Thank you.
Maybe starting from the last question, the advertising was not impacted by the pandemic because we were able to be flexible and agile to create content that was that could be consumed electronically or digitally by followers or fans of Arsenal or the Visit Rwanda campaign. But in terms of what we've gained as a destination before being hit by the pandemic, we saw an increase in 2019 of leisure tourists from the UK, as an example, by 17%. And in Europe from Europe by 22% in the year after the partnership launch. This was a great success, and also the positioning of Rwanda as a tourism destination received. We've also seen that that has been a message that was received because we conducted a survey to understand whether, with an international survey, to understand whether people were aware of Rwanda as a tourism and investment destination. And we discovered that at the time we were doing the survey, 51% were not, were 71% after the partnership and all the marketing activities that we conducted, 71% of those people, that sample, shown that they were ready to, they knew about Rwanda as a destination, and they were ready to consider Rwanda as a tourism destination for them and their families. Therefore, thanks to this partnership, Rwanda has been seen globally, and we hope that when the pandemic comes to an end or travel restrictions are lifted, we're able to continue to get the value that we've invested in this partnership.
Yeah, thank you so much. There was one more question, which I think is the waste management seems to be a development possibility for Rwanda. Are there investors being south or already setting up in Rwanda-related waste management or alternatives used for the waste? I think this is the last question.
Celestin, you. Rwanda has been championing the circular economy and is a founding co-chair of the African Circular Economy Alliance. So as a country, we recognize that the principles of circular economy, turning waste into wealth, basically, and the economic benefits it brings are well suited to Rwanda's green growth ambitions. Through an investment by the Rwanda Green Fund, the country recently opened the region's only state-of-the-art e-waste recycling facility. The investment also developed the laws, policies, and standards needed to establish an e-waste industry in Rwanda. Today, a unique private-public partnership has been set up, and the facility is now managed by a private sector operator that is called EnviroServe Rwanda, and has the capacity to process 10,000 tons per annum and has created more than 400 jobs. This initiative, therefore, demonstrates how public sector investment can catalyze private sector investment to protect our environment and create jobs. So Rwanda is also focused to turning general waste into a resource. Just this month, the Ministry of Environment has launched an initiative, an innovative partnership with the Luxembourg and the Global Green Growth Institute to reduce untreated waste collected at landfill sites, create revenue-generating business models from existing waste streams to create green jobs, to also increase access to sustainable services for residents in the city of Kigali, while reducing greenhouse gas emissions from the waste sector. So with this, we are very confident that this project will improve waste management in the city of Kigali and provide a sustainable model for other major cities around the country. And as you probably know, Rwanda has banned plastic bags in 2008 and single-use plastics in 2019. We have faced challenges in establishing a sustainable funding model to manage the unavoidable plastic waste where not available. As a result, the environment have joined forces to create a new model of managing single-use plastics. Is managing the resulting waste. This is making the polluter also take responsibility. This is definitely a very good example of extended producer responsibility in action. These and other efforts are being supported by the newly established Cleaner Production and Climate Innovation Center that is fast-tracking Rwanda's transition to a circular economy, enabling businesses to grow back greener following the pandemic. So yes, we also continue to welcome investors in the waste sector to contribute to these efforts and be part of building a green and circular and productive economy, green economy in Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs Ariella Kageruka. I appreciate for your time. Thank you so much. I appreciate.
Thank you, Celestin.